I looked at the television
on
last night.
the system. And I
Yes.
called there.
Yeah.
I didn't get here the SMS calls. So we
Oh,
can talk after the show. Yeah.
good. Great. Great. No problem.
All right.
Yeah, but I've
Yeah.
been looking at the television last night, Richard. I was so pissed off.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe what
Mhm.
I was looking at, I couldn't
Why?
believe
What happened?
that's the behavioral patterns of the leaders. I, I was so astonished.
What? That was what news?
Well, it was in the news, yes, the TV6 news,
Yeah.
and it
Well,
was
I pull
based
it.
it
What
was
happened?
based on what happened the big meeting in Arima and our partner. Well,
Mm-hmm.
boy, I couldn't believe those were the leaders up on a podium behaving like that, and
Tell
speaking
me
like
what jumped
that.
out. I didn't see it. I didn't see it. Tell me, Daddy Mac. Go
Well,
on, go on.
geez and ages.
Oh, my dear.
I can't remember word for word. I was so pissed off, I took off the
Yeah.
television. I went and got a cup of coffee and then I came back to the television. Like,
Daddy Mac, that is what I do. I mean, come on.
I couldn't believe. I said,
What they did that caused you to do what you did?
well, at the meeting, it's a red
Mhm.
and ready meeting, so the boss was on stage and he was highly annoyed. He was like ignorant. He was like vexed. And listen, to add more injury to more salt to the wound, if I should say that,
Mhm.
in came a deputy, you know, a senior politician, carried on in the same way, attacking them. So after I'm making that song that you just heard, the national anthem of afternoon power drive is not about we and them at all, at all, at all. We don't want that. It's about we. I do, Richard. I can't. I'm not in the political kind of advocacy. You understand? I tend to
Yeah.
oppose them when they're attacking the people, and I think that was a blatant attack on people who are twin Begonians, even though they're on the other political on the political divide. I was really pissed off, partner. Pull it up. Pull up TV6 news for yesterday, and you would see, because I don't have nothing to say about that. I live in a town that is very red and
Daddy
very
Mac,
red.
I will do it as I leave this show today.
I was so upset. I couldn't believe. Trust
I
me.
didn't see it.
And
But it's
defending things that people are curious about. People who are wondering, well, what the hell will go on now? Is this real? Them kind of things. But when they talk about things in court, I keep my hands off, partner. But brother man, I telling you, I didn't feel good as a Trinbagonian at all after looking at that. But Mickela is with us. I don't want to take up the talk time. So, good afternoon,
Hello,
Mickela,
good
and
afternoon, good
welcome,
afternoon,
welcome,
everyone.
welcome,
What got
welcome.
good afternoon to our viewers and listeners. What got you so upset, Danny Mac? You have to tell me. I came in.
I was looking at the news and I couldn't believe in Trinidad. I say once you're born here, you are Trinbagonian. By all means necessary, you are. And when I see leaders creating partitions by the way they speak and their behavioral patterns and their attitudes on a podium, that turns me off big time. We ain't going nowhere with that kind of attitude from leaders. Leaders have to understand the people run things.
Yeah.
And it's about time we start to govern from bottom to the top. You see that top to bottom thing? That ain't working at all, Mickela.
It's not working. It's not working. It's not
No,
working.
no,
And
no.
there's a disconnect. But anything in particular
Well, they were talking about the Foster Cummins thing. They were
Yeah.
talking about the Saga thing. You know what I mean? And it's appalling.
I get Daddy Mac, let me just tell you, you're gonna have to tell me which one because it happens on both of them. So I know there is a Monday meeting, I know there's a Tuesday meeting.
No. This took
It is
place.
not a meeting.
This was the reporting of TV6 via the news.
Right.
So I see the 10 o'clock news because I'm not home to see the 7 o'clock news. I'm on my way home. So I make sure I see, and when I turned on the television, I was so upset. You see that kind of behavior with them leaders? They point fingers at the young people, how they behave, about criminal activity and all kind of thing.
Yeah.
sometimes little issues can spark those kind of behavior from the youths, you know. And if you don't lead by example, what the hell you expect? What you
Correct.
expect? You should take a
Look
look
at
at
the
the.
parliament and look at the parliament. I mean, that is,
It's upsetting in this day and age, coming out of a pandemic, reeling from the effects of this Russia-Ukraine war and the effect that is taken globally. You know, a kind of rat race going on there that I don't like at all. I find it like a rat race. Well, who want to be in a rat race? Who?
yeah.
You,
Nobody.
you have to lead from in front. You want unity. You talk unity, but when you're in a podium, especially when election times are coming,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
the whole I don't know. But welcome to today's edition. I don't know what's on your
Thank you.
agenda. Let's
Thank
continue.
you. Thank you. No, I mean, it's something upset you. It's good to discuss it, right,
upsetting.
Rich?
Yes. I try my best to talk to
Just
the
unmute
young
your mic,
people in my area about that kind of behavior.
Yes.
You
Thank
know,
you.
I don't like that. So Richard, take over, my brother.
All right. I would look at the news later on today.
Yes, that's
Surely
yesterday's,
I will as well because I
Yes.
missed.
yesterday's
I
news.
missed it. I didn't see it.
No, I don't mind it discussing something. I don't mind it opposing something. I don't mind if something happened within the political realm or based on the media reporting that gets you upset. But you cannot behave like that and use that kind of language and that attitude about other people who are Trinbagonians because they are opposing you and all this kind of thing. That is the behavior. Well, partner, I tell you, I told you already, the new generation will deal with this new normal. So, my brother, the microphone is yours and Mickela's.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
I
Thank you.
had to vent.
I'm glad you
Yeah.
did. It's good. Get it out.
Yes,
You feel better afterwards.
yes.
But this has been going on for a very, very long time.
Too long. Mickela.
I remember growing up. I mean, obviously, my father was in politics before I was born.
Yeah.
And I didn't grow up in this. I didn't see this. There was, they always will have their peacock and thing going on, but I never, saw this vitriol and hate,
I know.
and personal attacks
Yes.
on each other. And I remember my father always said, he says, of course, he says, Mr. Manning, they both went to Presentation College, they both are South boys, and he says, he's not my enemy, he's my opponent.
That's right. That's right.
But what we see is so much hate. I mean, like I say, I didn't see the news, but leaders have to set the example.
I tell you.
We keep on talking about the way our young people are behaving in schools and with loss of respect for teachers and elders and people in communities. But look at what we see. What the example is being set. How we speak and relate to each other.
I tell you.
Rich?
Well, what I think about that is, and I agree with you, this has been going on for quite a long time. And the reason why it has been going on for quite a long time and continues to continue is it serves the purpose of the two dominant parties' base. And they need to keep it that way. It's not really that they hate each other.
You sure?
Yeah.
I'm not
it's
sure about
not.
that. Richard,
I'm not sure. I've seen some things myself and heard some things.
Yeah.
I wouldn't treat people that I like that.
That's right.
No, but you wouldn't treat people you like that. I agree, but it doesn't mean what you are seeing amounts to hate. What I think it is, it has hate in it, yes, but it's not hatred.
But a hateful behavior, then? Would you say hateful behavior?
It is to transmit that same feeling you spoke of, Mix, into the hearts and minds of both bases.
Gosh.
But the leaders themselves, they are not in that. If that was the case, you'd have seen more people being charged. Politicians, if it was hatred, politicians would have been before the court every Monday morning. This one wanted to do that one and that one.
In Trinidad,
So what they want to do, nobody going to jail. Anytime you want to see is about hate, you would start seeing politicians in handcuffs and heading, and you would hear how much money they have and where they get it from, and they couldn't explain, and
You
all
like
kind
that,
of
that correlation though, because or is it hate or self-interest? I mean, there could be hate and self-interest
No, so
because
what I'm saying,
you want to do the same thing. You want to
no,
do
hear what
exactly
happened.
what they're doing.
No, hear what they're doing. They don't want to lose their own base. They don't.
Right.
And the way to keep the base in line is to communicate to the base the impression that those on top hate each other. So if your base seen your leader hating that side, how do you think the base would feel? The base hate them too. Once you have the base believing that they hate us and we hate them, it had nothing they could say that could cause me to consider voting for them because it's about hate. You understand what I'm saying? So both sides are aware of the fact that if we have this thing locked in, we have the PNM base full up with hate, you have the UNC base full up with hate. Here what you know. Here was the resulting outcome. Who's supporting the UNC and who's supporting the PNM? They support staying right there. They're staying right there. And that's what both leaders on top trying to do, to always hold this base. And in order to do so without giving them better quality of life through lowering the cost of living and hiring or elevating the quality and standard of living, because they can't do that or they refuse to do that, they have to do something to hold the base. So the best thing, not the next best thing, the best thing is to use race. That's the biggest thing. And race could be like a burning flame to look past every other issue. And within that settings, hatred could develop. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because one making you feel you are suffering today because of what they did.
That's right.
You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's been an oversell. It's that thinking has been abused. It signals that there's an absence of new ideas. They don't have much further to go. I listened to the Prime Minister the other night, and he went back into a story telling us about he know about another Prime Minister in the Caribbean who does have to call in his finance man and so on to find out how much money they collected yesterday so that they will know how much they could spend today. No, he said that since in 2016, right?
Yeah.
I bet if anybody asked him, now he didn't name who the Prime Minister was 2 nights ago. He didn't say which country it was. Why a journalist doesn't get up and ask him, could you share with us what country and who's the leader? Who's in that position? I think you'd never get an answer to that. But you see, it serves the purpose to sell people rubbish talk. Rubbish talk on the basis, in other words, he's saying, look how bad they are. We are not that bad, but we have to hold tight to make sure we don't get there. And once you have people thinking that way, the windfall of money you have now, people would look away from it, you know. They would look away from it, and that is the idea. Calling the citizens of this country to let them know when you put people in office to govern a country, you will ban your belly when we all know it to be bad. And we did that in 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. We did that. The time has come to loosen the belt. Richard Quest said we have a windfall. Not so, Daddy Mac?
Of course.
Yes. And he asked Scott Young. He
4
asked
billion?
Scott Young, straight out, more than that.
It's plenty more than that.
Yeah, he asked Scott Young, what are you doing with all of that windfall of money?
Yeah.
Hear what
And what did he
Young
say?
said.
What he said?
He never said we didn't have a windfall, you know. In fact, his response confirmed what Richard Quest was saying, that we have a windfall. But he went on to say, but we have bills to pay.
Yeah,
you know?
and debts.
And debt
We have
and
debts.
bills
Yeah,
to pay. Yeah, so what he has done there by saying we have bills to pay is confirmed they had the money. So my thinking is, when it was bad, we all tightened our belt from 15 to 20. Oil prices average about $73 a barrel from 2017 all the way up to now, and then it gone up to 130, right?
Yeah.
Which means we have a lot of money there. Nobody's telling the government to increase wages now to a place where you can't sustain it for the next 2 or 3 years. Nobody's saying that. But we have the money. give people something fair, 9%, 10% increase. And if perchance we end up again where we were in 2015, you come back to the same people and say, we knew there was a risk. But as you saw when we shared. Now we are heading back to a place we had to adjust once again. And what you have, it's a fluctuation in the management. But that's
how you would run your family.
Yeah, exactly so. That's how I run a family.
When you spend a bit more. When you don't, you tighten your belt.
You cut back.
Yeah.
But this one is saying it doesn't matter what comes in, tighten your belt.
Because there's another priority.
There's another, he's saying to the country now, he so want to make sure when he increase your pay it could be sustained. That to tell you how there's an absence of ideas. He want to be certain that they could sustain it for the next 20 years. He will never get to that point.
Nobody can do that.
He could never get to that point. And the point he's saying he wants to get to first before he can pay people. I am saying he could never get there. And the interpretation of that means he had no money to give all at any time.
Ever. Because we will always have debt. You see, we will always have debt. We will always have to pay bills. Yeah. We will always have to say that. And what it was.
Old talk. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, Rick. But what it was, and this was at the meeting, and I believe it was an 8% wage increase would cost the country $3.6 billion in back pay, and an additional cost of $1.4 billion to pay public servant salaries. He does talk about it. He says that the revenue, the increased revenue that they got because of rising oil prices and gas prices because of obviously the war in the Russia-Ukraine war. But he says they earn $4 billion in additional revenue. However, $3 billion is to pay debts and expenses, and he says there'll just be over $1 billion left. So,
I don't believe that.
It's terrible.
It's not like the money they got, the faucet lock off now. It's still flowing.
The
money is still flowing.
Exactly.
So that's what they have so far. What about what is to come? How much will be in the kitty, so to speak, in the next 3 months? So it's complete nonsensical talk. And the sad reality is that this is what you're palming off on the people. So you're in government now for 7 years, and you can give people a moderate increase. What should the people should expect from somebody who put in office for 10 years? You want to say before you can give the people some kind of benefit, you have to be in office for 15, 20 years. That's what I want to tell the people. Now, when you got into office, I want to say this. He's more wealthy today than when he got in, than how he was before he got in. He's a lot more wealthy than that today. Today, he's in a position where he and his family will not want anything again in their lifetime, ever, financially. They're good enough. Because for one thing, you get the prime minister's salary for the rest of your life. So you're good enough. You are fixed a life. And I want to repeat this. One family got over $100 million in rent over between 2015 and 2020. And he described that family as running a small business. But that was money from the taxpayers.
Exactly. It's the taxpayers' money.
One family. And he felt that was okay. Now, I don't have a problem with that. I too find it to be okay. If you had the assets and you could rent the government, fine. But since
or build a building.
Or build, yes. Or you can build your own building.
Or build your own building so we don't have to rent.
But you have the waterfront. You had the government plaza. You know how much floors not in a number of places? You could have put those ministry and all those things in there. That was the purpose for them anyway. You ain't using there. You pay a man over $100 million between 2015 and 2020. I'm saying, okay, but here's the point. If you don't have a problem with giving one man $100 million, 10% of $1 billion in 5 years, how you can have a problem with paying $2 or $3 billion to tens of thousands of people in this country?
Yeah.
You understand that?
It feels cruel. It feels cruel.
10% of $1 billion. So you want to tell me you're only willing to run out that kind of money when it's people like that one? So 9 more like him could have get what? $1 billion. And you'd have said that is okay. They are 10 special people. But to spend $1 billion on 50,000 people, you have to go and behave like I mean, I'd watch what Daddy Mac tell me to look at later, so I could put an adjective there. But you have to behave like what you decided to behave like that caused Daddy Mac to be saying here today. Madness.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, come on. So to me, people in this country have to wake up. If you see it fit, you see standards, if you could sit back, if you're pursuing a tight ship, and you say everybody had to hold tight, you can't have one man walking out with 100 million.
No.
I mean, even if you think he deserves it, you would say, no, how it would look. Patrick Manning would have said that. How it would look. They're telling the rest of the country, you can't give them an increase.
That's
but
right.
You won that in $100 million plus. And let me tell you, that is one area, some of them had to recuse themselves 48 times, 59 times. And I've never heard once when they recuse themselves, the family didn't get. I've never heard that. So every time they're recused, the formality is they get. So you just step away to make sure it passed legally, but it passed.
Mm-hmm. It passed.
It passed. We might have an issue. So step away, go past, and there's no issue, right?
And especially after COVID, what everybody has gone through, people were still getting paid the rent. Money was still, flowing, but not to the citizens.
And Mickela, I want to tell her disappointed with the trade union leaders. So one thing, they have a right to protest because this cause is a very important one. I call on them to protest fully. But the problem I have with them is some protesting, some ain't. At the time, and here why some ain't protesting, well, the CPO haven't gotten back to them as yet. Now, isn't there, these union leaders don't meet? What they should have said, in my opinion, is that we are not calling on any day to strike just yet until the CPO gets back to each leader. You understand that? Two things would have happened from that.
United.
You hold your hand a little, and they say, let the CPU get back to every particular trade union leader first, right? And then we go act after as one. So if you hear, you come in and give 1, 2, and then they give an next one 8. That is more room for bacchanal, if I could say so. Because
and that was probably what will happen.
And give me 2. Or if you give everybody 2, then now you have a unified, a front of unity. You understand? Yeah. And you bring all your people to the road, and then you protest. And if it results in shutting down the country, so be it. But now here what is happening? You're looking to take action. Some of the unions saying they can't participate because the CPO ain't got back to them yet. I want to tell all it's a strategy. The CPO is not a fool. If the CPO had told all of you the same thing at the same time, the CPO would have aided them in a way the government would have been against the CPO. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it's the government told the CPO, do it that way. Because
divide and rule.
Of course. So the union leaders should have been smarter than that. They should have said, you know what? We are going to rally our forces, but we are setting a date and time, not just yet. Let's hear what the CPO has to tell all leaders first. We do nothing until we are all responded to. And if we are dissatisfied, all we'll hear from us thereafter. And then that's what you do. So then you come out now, everybody passionate and united, and you take your action. But again, they fell for the trap. They took the debate line, hook, and sinker. And here now they're going out tomorrow in a divided front. Some would be out there, some would not be out there. Now, does that make sense? That doesn't make sense. Prison can't be there, teacher can't be there, all kind of reasons. That does not make sense. If you're going to talk about a protest that could potentially shut a country down, you want to make sure you have all hands on deck.
All hands on deck, yeah.
Have all hands on deck is to say to the CPO, that would have been such a sensible, ominous message. We are not doing anything until the CPO responds to everybody. After the CPO responds to everybody, then you would hear from us. And just
do you think they were feeling, in fairness to them, do you feel that they were feeling they had to look after the interests of their own unions and their own members, and perhaps they
could have been feeling that way too.
They said, they will get angry or they become disenchanted. And, you have to go back at the end of the day to your members. And yes, while I'm sure union leaders would meet, my father was a trade union leader for a very, 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 very long time. So, of course, I know they meet and they come up with strategy. But, I mean, you have to also, account to your members. But I guess that's where leadership also comes in, because you have to encourage and help your members to understand, listen, this is what we have decided to do. You know, hold on a little bit so that we can get somewhere with this negotiation. Otherwise, no is no, and few people come out, and that's it.
Yeah. And what would happen, to take your point home, you are thinking that they may have been thinking that they had to do it because they want to represent their people. But if you had waited for everybody,
Yeah,
everybody could have represent everybody else more effectively by everybody doing it in a united way. The whole country would have take notice. And the message
looking
to
at
the
the bigger
government,
picture.
the bigger picture, yeah. Yeah. And everyone would have been taken care of. Because when you're seeing, instead of seeing 500 people or 1,000, you look outside and you see 40,000 people, you know you're in trouble. Because that
Right.
40,000 people had a grandmother, the grandfather, the parents, the children might be 18 home. You multiply that 4,000 by about 3, and you run into about 120,000 there. That could determine any election.
Correct.
That any politician, your days are numbered. So if you don't want your days to be numbered, pay the people. Pay the people. You know, hear emergency meeting, emergency cabinet meeting, all kind of madness, meeting with Minister of Finance and the CPU. You'd have heard it. And then you'd hear they come out and tell you the best they can do is 10%. And they are doing it. It's hard. It's a blow to the treasury, but we're going to do it. We have to manage it, but we may have to come back to review it in the next 6 months. So,
Which is only fair. Which is only fair, because we all do that with our budgeting for
all
ourselves.
the time. All the time. You know, you could even negotiate where the back pay is concerned. We're doing this, but we're getting you all 70% of your back pay because of the amount it is. And you'll get the next 30% in monthly increases, not in a lump sum. You follow?
Yeah.
And you share it. People going to be so happy just to get the increase with some back pay, knowing that.
Especially after how difficult it has been over the last 2 years.
But you want to act as though you own everybody in the country. You could decide for everybody in the country how much they should have and how much they shouldn't have, and you're not giving them because you are not satisfied. You could sustain it for the next 10 to 20 years. Who are you? That is craziness, and people ought to reject that openly. That is poor governance.
And like I say, the issue is, when will the time be right?
Just like he made the point, when will the time be right to collect property tax? Well, when will the time be right to give people the increase?
Yeah.
So you're saying you want to implement property tax now because if you leave it up to the people, the timing will never be right. Equally, the timing will never be right for you to give people the increase. So give it to them now. Today is the day to give them the increase and stagger the back pay. You know what I mean? Break it up in parts, 2 parts, 3 parts, and you pay it as long as you go along. But you just feel,
unless you have no intention to pay at all, ever. You know, if the argument is, Rich, listen, we don't have the money, right? If the argument is that, where do you go from there? We don't have it. Where do you go? And that is when I think the togetherness of the unions have to come. And I always feel, you know, they should speak and explain it to the people, you know, the rest of the country, and what exactly is happening, and why they need to do what they're doing. I don't think everybody will always agree, and that's why I'm looking forward to our guest. He is a trade union leader, a young, vibrant trade union leader. So it will be nice to ask him, you know, what exactly are they hoping for, perhaps tomorrow, and to achieve, and the likelihood of achieving it.
Yeah. Again, right? And if tomorrow turns out to be a failure, that's another blow to the trade union movement. And what happened to the negotiation? Because they didn't get the kind of support that I hope for, he empowered the government, he emboldened them to say, we offer them 2%, don't cross 4. You understand what I'm saying? And they had to take that. Whereas if you had held their hand and said, talk to all leaders first, respond to all. Right now, the demand should have been to respond to this one, respond to that one. Let us hear what again them. And when they all get it, then you hear emergency meeting with all trade union leaders. And then you get a day to shut down the country, if that is what I want to say. You follow what I'm saying? And I bet you the support. So now you have prison calling on prisoners, teachers calling on teachers, this one calling on that one. If you get 50, 60% of your membership to come out, You're in a good place for under each of those different headings. You're in a very good place, and you'll be able to show the trade union is trade unionism is alive and kicking in this country. It is up and vibrant. But what will happen tomorrow? It may work, it may not work. Let's wait and see. But I think they made a mistake. But probably they know something we don't. Let's see how it goes. But sometimes I feel they tend to jump the gun too early. They don't operate from a place of robust strategy. You need to be able to sit down and plan what you need to plan and see where you're going to get the results you are sorting after. And if you go this way or that way, and then roll that out. But as it is, when you just feel, let's do this, talk to members, you start marketing, and it doesn't really work that way. And to me, I think they had a wonderful opportunity to just say, hold on, let all union leaders wait until they are responded to from the CPO. And if we are not pleased, we take action together as one, right?
You think that's where the problem stems from then? A lack of unity?
Of course, yes. Or sometimes the next problem, yes, it would be that. And the next part would be each one of them perhaps from time to time want to show they are more effective a leader here than that leader is there. You understand why I make a call that come out more than, I mean, that is old time. Again,
exactly, that's where I was going to go with it. I said, we need to think the role of trade unions itself has to begin to change, and the way that we do things, things have to change.
One leader would be the leader for all the trade unions. But if you all work together, it becomes a big success. Then all of you get kudos. All of you, you understand what I'm saying? There's so much to enjoy for all the members of all the different trade unions. That will make all the leaders feel good. And they will know we were able to achieve this because we stood together.
Yeah.
But they're not going into it that way tomorrow. Some, of course, are united because a few of them are to get united in this cause for tomorrow, but they'd have been much better off if they had gotten a lot more of them. And some big ones too, because there are about 3 or 4 big ones that participated.
Really? I thought that they haven't come around to taking part.
And when you look, for example, at say like prison always have a nice crowd.
Yeah.
And while the leader is saying, because they have another engagement. That's another thing. They have another engagement. I have another engagement in a matter this huge. Is that they put off the engagement or the whole thing gets cancelled until everybody could be there?
Yeah.
Because, you know what I mean? Everybody, as I said, all hands must be in there. Teachers, they are not coming out because the CPO has not yet responded to them. So they are saying it will be premature for them to jump the gun, and which is a fair position to take. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't want to go and dive in there at the risk of all the teachers, and you rub the CPO the wrong way. What you're protesting for? You haven't responded to it yet. So that's why they should have waited to hear what is happening with teachers and everyone else like that before you act. And because they didn't do that, now you have a situation whereby this operation tomorrow may be at risk. We wait to see. But it's a sad situation. But I hope a meaningful message is sent nonetheless, because I have to say, as I've said before, the governance is not good in this country at this time. It isn't. I mean, and I'm saying that because we know it. The only reason this money talk is on the table now, they were pursuing heavy strategies to kill this, Right now, they must be extremely disappointed, because they were supposed to be getting that money and still act like we have no money. That's how they were acting since 2017.
Well, they were so silent. The government has been so silent. It's months that, even with the war, everybody, but even before that, you saw the oil prices sort of going up. And
but
all you keep saying is, we don't have enough to give the grants. We don't have enough to for social services. We don't have enough for this. So we'll never ever have enough.
Never. And in
then
politics,
people's quality of life will always be never be able to improve that.
You can never satisfy all the people all the time. So as they get, you give what you have. When you don't have, you sit tight in your belt. When you get again, you loosen it. That's how we've been going all along. That's how we have come to reach where we are. By slackening, tightening.
Yeah.
This guy wants to tell us, just maintain a position permanently. of a tightened belt, and if you could tighten it more, if you could. But they're
But
not
then we
living
go
so
and spend 1 billion or how much billion, 1 point whatever billion on a spy equipment.
on a spy piece
You
of
know, how do
equipment.
you
Who
marry
getting
that
money
and
for that? Yeah,
expect people
who
to
got the money for
accept
that?
that?
You claim you want to protect people. You want to push back crime. You have money, you're not giving it to the people. People suffering. They're going to more crime. Then they spend 1.6 billion to buy spyware. And when they buy the spyware, crime
The crime
increases
not
even
going
more.
down.
It's not going down, it's going up.
Mhm.
It doesn't make sense. So you're pushing people to commit crime, not him, but through his policies. You're forcing people, because not everybody can behave the same way all the time. So you're forcing some people to commit crime through your policies, although it may
Yes.
not be a direct correlation. But part of the resulting effect is that some people are pushed to crime. And when they
That's
go
right.
to crime, it's when they pursue policy to take them, look into what caused them to turn there and pull them off of it. You take money now to say, more of them in crime, spend $1.6 billion on spyware.
And how you expect people to sit down and accept that they will never see the benefit of that? How
And I
how
want
is
to
that?
tell you, Mickela, if they were to process out in detail exactly how that $1.6 billion spent, some of the same people who are getting hundreds of millions all the time, they're the same people who got the money to bring this in again. You understand what I'm saying? So there's this big loosening of the belt once it comes to certain people to get. But
And
once it
that
comes to
is
certain
why the
other
country
people,
feels
no.
rich. That
Yeah,
there is a rule for some and a rule for others.
yeah.
And the majority of this population will have to suffer and feel the brunt of what has to happen and not get their pay rise. But the ones at the top that continue to benefit just continue. And I say openly, regardless of which government is in there, of the two parties.
Yeah, true.
Because you can't see, if we didn't know who had won 2010, 2015, whatever, and we just looked at documentation, could you even see a difference?
No, very little. It's the same.
Because the other party
the last
was
one of is the same thing the last one could accuse this one of. Same
because
thing.
all of them was paying the rent. Nobody had stopped it.
All of them
There was
paying the rent.
empty buildings, right? I mean, in San Fernando also, because it's not a huge city, the heart of San Fernando, and everybody knows exactly what's going on. We see it, and governments change, and you have hope, and you say, things are going to get better because you fight on corruption, but nothing changes. Now, as you say, we are so many years in, and people are asking for a little wage increase. We don't have, but you have enough to give.
Mickela, how much is $500 billion? Isn't that $500 billion?
Yep.
This government is on the way to spend that amount of money in 2 budgets from now. 2 budgets from now, this government would enter the vicinity or may have just gone past.
And what can we see?
$1 billion. No government has spent the amount of money this government has spent. None. Look at what other governments did with significantly less. This government has spent the most amount of money. Where is the day or whatever to show for it? What they have to show for that money? You cut scholarship, you cut gate, you cut, I don't know where you get cut. And you keep on looking to increase more here, increase more there, and where all the money going?
But the rich gets richer and the poor gets poorer.
And his policy is create an opening for the rich to get richer. And they will create or provide opportunities for the poor. Have you seen that happening?
No.
But you almost spend $500 billion. People, come on. Come on, I want to know what color truck the money went in this time. That's what I want to know. And I'm saying to constituents throughout the country, anytime a minister comes to you all or a member of parliament and say the government didn't have no money, accuse them of the largest or biggest liar, as your father would say, a liar of the highest order.
Of the highest order.
The highest order. He had said that.
Yes, yes.
Mickela and Richard, Timothy Bailey is with us.
Lovely.
Yes.
Great.
Take it away, Mickela. Let me rest my throat.
Rest your throat a little bit.
Mr. Bailey, good afternoon.
I wonder if he's hearing us. Mr. Bailey, Tim. Oh, I think he's frozen.
Yes,
Good afternoon, good afternoon. How are you all doing?
Yes, yes.
Thank you for having me.
All right, there he is.
There he is. There he is. Richard, our viewers, this is Mr. Timothy Bailey, president
Thank you
of
for having me. Thank you for having me. How are you all doing this afternoon?
We're having fun as we always do, quarreling, making noise, having some fun, laughing, feeling sad, feeling angry, and we're looking forward to having a discussion with you because that's what we've been discussing for the last half an hour or so. But Mr. Bailey, and I want to just introduce you again, Timothy Bailey. He is a young and vibrant trade union leader, and I have to say, a close comrade, friend of mine. I have great respect for him. I wanted him to come on as well, and I thought just talk a little bit about the steel industry and then go into the negotiations. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for being here with us today. Timothy, is it okay if we call you Timothy?
Thank you for having me, Mickela. Thank you for having me, Power 102. I'm thankful for all the great things that you have said of me. Hopefully
It's
I do
all
you justice.
all true. Of course. Okay, so let's get straight into it, while we have you. Since the closure, if that's the right word to use, of the steel industry, we don't hear a lot about your union. Your union is a smaller union than perhaps some of the other, the bigger ones. And I thought it would be beautiful to give you the opportunity to tell us a little bit about your union, to the listeners and viewers.
Right, just like our sister unions, whether it be Communication Workers Union, BEGU, or OWTU, our union emerged out of the steel industry, just like OWTU emerged out of the oil fields, right? We have, over the past decade, been in a lot of, I don't want to use the word struggle because it's beyond struggle, but we have persevered through a period that still continues, that was very, very difficult, with the closure of ArcelorMittal in 2016, where workers were sent home after giving 36 years of dedicated service to this billion-dollar entity with nothing because of the lax legislation in our country. Today, 2022, the legislation remains the same. Even though other bills that are convenient to other sectors of society have been carried to the parliament and have been amended, to this day, the legislation that allowed the Metal Group to close up shop and not pay workers any separation benefit, not a red cent, after 36 years of dedicated service and after building an empire for the Metal Group, the legislation in this country is still the same as it relates to workers. And I want to start off by saying that I blame the opposition and the government, those are the individuals in the parliament, for allowing 6 years to pass, because 6 years has passed, and not raise a finger. I blame mainly the Minister of Labours, the former Minister of Labour who did nothing, and the new Minister of Labour who we cannot find. The most difficult period in the history of this country as it relates to workers, the Minister of Labour currently is, you can't find him, he's hiding. So I wanna from a constructive perspective, appeal to these individuals who are in our parliaments, whether it's the opposition, whether it's the government, bring legislation that will help the ordinary working man and woman, bring legislation that would help working class people.
You see, because what can happen as well, we have a little delay, Tim, but what can happen is without the right legislation, we can see this happening again. So nothing has come out of it to benefit workers. And you would agree that this is something that can happen again to anybody. where you give 36 or however many years of your life, and a company shuts down or goes bankrupt and you get nothing.
Nothing is stopping any employer in this country to say, I have been challenged because of COVID, and you see the profit margin I used to make before. I used to make 10 million. I'm making $1 million now. I make enough money. I am not fighting up with this thing, and make a decision in our boardroom, make a voluntary decision to wind up its company and give its workers nothing. That is what happened to us. That is what happened to steel workers in Trinidad and Tobago because of lax legislation.
Yeah, I want to take you to
some of the trickle effects right now as it relates to crime. We're seeing some of the trickle right now as it relates to even the economy, because Mickela was $1 billion revenue stream for this country. One of the largest providers of Forex. It was $1 billion money stream. NGC used to make in the region of somewhere around $2.4 million a month. They used to be paid in the US for the natural gas that Mickela used. Mickela was Tiantec's largest consumer. They paid Tiantec will pay $20 million $30 per month. And WASA was paid in the region of $4 million per month. So that stream dried up. No wonder you are offering people 2% right now.
So I want to get into the 2%. Both Richard and I were talking about it, and we think it is an insult to people. But I wanted to know what your views are. Do you think that is fair?
Definitely not, Mickela, my friend. It could never be fair. Never, never, never. If you look at the history of what has transpired, you look at the period, some of these negotiations stemming straight back to 2013. We are in 2022. The two governments took a decision not to settle these negotiations in a timely manner. And now, no fault of the workers, some of these workers have worked tirelessly throughout this COVID period to make sure that our economy remains balanced. You are saying to these individuals that they must accept 2%? That is unreasonable. It's unfair. It's unjustified.
We were talking before you came on, and I wanted to hear your view on it. And I just quote a little bit of what the Prime Minister had said yesterday at his meeting. He was saying the 8% wage increase would cost the country $3.6 billion in back pay, an additional annual cost of $1.4 billion to pay public servants salaries, monies which they say they don't have. They talked about saying that they got $4 billion in windfall, but they have to pay $3 billion in debts and bills, and therefore they'll only have $1.4 billion to pay public servants' salaries. What's the union's view on this? They're buying this, or what's the views?
I don't think any forward-thinking union is oblivious to the fact that we are in challenging times. But at the same time, you cannot come and talk about sharing the burden of adjustment when you have shown no intention whatsoever. You went through an entire COVID period. None of your perks were touched. None. And when you talk about that, they get angry. And you are saying now, and you are the top as it relates to earning in the country. It wasn't necessary for you to take a haircut. But now you are saying to people who go in with $3,000, $3,500 a month, who's struggling to put food on the table.
We know about that.
To give them a 2% increase, and if you give them a 4% increase, it'll an increase by X amount. The reason why we are in the position where we're talking these figures is because the CPO, which is an extension of the government, over a period of time, 2013 to now, would have failed to do what they are paid to do, their job, which is to negotiate new collective agreements. They didn't do it. They didn't do it, and it's convenient now to say suddenly that we don't have the money and we will have to borrow the money. That is unfair. That's unjust.
Talk to me, Tim, about the whole approach, because we've been through this and we've discussed this many times. The approach of the government and of course the CPO towards the union. What has been going on? I mean, as far as you can tell the listeners and the viewers.
The CPO, and let's be frank, is operating on the instructions of the government, whether or not they would admit it or not. And I want to be straight up and frank. The CPO is an instrument of the government, right? While it is a technically an employer, whatever, as we say in layman terms and in Trinist lingo, whatever shot call the government call, the CPO has to get in line. The CPO is suddenly, all of a sudden, asking all trade unions for public servants and public sector workers to come now to joint meetings to collect packages, right?
Oh, tell us more about that. Tell us more about that.
I'm going back to the point where the negotiations stemming from back to 2013, we are in 2022. You have packages with 2% offers, etc. for these unions, and you are expecting that these responsible unions are supposed to accept that. No responsible union is going to accept that. None. You have not even, as a government, and I don't want to come across as knocking the government, but the government is in charge. They are in charge of policy and decision.
That's the point. It's right? Not about a person or anything. It's the government.
Don't want to personalize it at all, right? The reality is, okay, let's make some moves that basically the small man could feel that, all right, you're trying to cater to them.
Yeah.
Why do we not have food baskets? When I say food baskets, why haven't we said that rice, and we spoke this some months ago, Mickela, sugar,
we did.
Flour, other essentials, oil, peas, vegetables, the government taking a position that at the end of the day, we waive in, whether it is, if it is being brought into the country, we waive in duties on these things so that it could come into the home cheaper for the ordinary man. Why hasn't the government sat down with the Supermarket Association, come up with something to ensure that these essentials, that the ordinary man and woman, that's all they're trying to do, and provide these essentials to the family.
Tim, we know that. We know that. We have been out there. We've been out there together. And we know what's happening. I cannot believe that any government can't know what's happening. And if they don't know what's happening, something is seriously, seriously wrong. You remember we were talking about what we have now is the new poor after COVID. 2 years. There were 2 years that people didn't work, their little businesses, all kind of different things. Is it too much? 2%? What would you say? If you're allowed to say, because you may still be in negotiations, and I don't want to put you in a difficult position. But is there an amount that the unions all the unions together united are looking at or have agreed upon?
Definitely, I wouldn't be in a position to say that. What I could say is that the unions are not accepting 2%.
Right.
I could say that.
But let me ask you. But they do have a position, and that position. Are they united in that position?
The union's positions would be reasonable positions. If the government comes with a reasonable position, I think that the unions would accept those positions. But I believe the union's positions are reasonable positions.
I'm with you. Now, one of the things we were talking about, and Richard was saying, there is going to be a shutdown. A lot of probably members of the public, they will say, well, we just come out from a kind of lockdown. Before we go into that, some unions are not going to be turning up and things like that. Do you think that now is the right time, and you would probably have the public on your side?
At the end of the day, certain actions need to be taken. Certain actions are necessary. I don't think that any action that the union is proposing to take at this time is unnecessary. I do not think that. And I think that I am a reasonable person. Right?
And I know you are. And I know you are. And I'm not being biased. This is truthful. We've worked together before and continue to do so. Now, one of the things that Richard had brought up is that he said, in his opinion, he said he felt that perhaps tomorrow all the unions should have waited, because three of the big ones are not participating, because it's reported that they said that they were waiting. I think teachers and prisons, they said they were waiting to hear what they hadn't heard from the CPO yet. You're saying this is a premature action, or we just got to move?
I will not be in a position to say it's a premature action. What I could say is that at some point, some sort of action must begin. And this may just be the beginning. It might climax into exactly what you're speaking about, where all the unions, from a unified perspective, come together on a day with its membership. But this is just only the start. It needs to build momentum. It will build momentum. But you have to start at a point. Somebody needed to basically start it. It has been started. And I believe that if things do not change, it will climax into something that we have never seen in recent time.
And probably, that's what's needed. Many people have spoken. I mean, people who are not part of the unions, but who really said that 2% is an insult. It really is an insult to the workers of this country, who, like you said, and we very well know, kept the country running during a very difficult time when other people were at home on lockdown.
Exactly.
It's an insult. It's an insult to them. Do you see continued negotiations, or it going anywhere, or are you feeling positive about the outcome, or you think this is just a repeat of what happens all the time, and we'll get to a position where the government says, look, we just don't have the money, and that's it, and what happens after?
What I want to say is that the negotiation in its current state is not consistent with good industrial relations. It's not consistent
really?
With the act. It is not consistent with negotiation environment that will bring about a peaceful resolution. What has happened is that, let's be real, the negotiation has been done in the public space. You're seeing government ministers throwing up posts on social media, trying to justify or trying to push a certain narrative. If the CPO is the body that is really supposed to be undertaking the negotiations, then those negotiations are supposed to be done behind doors. The CPO is supposed to be given the authority to undertake the negotiations, which unfortunately isn't happening. You started off bad by negotiating for periods that is in excess of the act. The act under section 43(1), I think, speaks of a collective agreement only being for 3 years and a max of 5 years. You are trying to negotiate periods in excess of 5 years, 8 years in some instances.
Yeah.
So you're seeing that the negotiation has been removed from the arena where it's supposed to take place, and that's under the Industrial Relations Act. And you're seeing that is being done in the public, people using social media, people doing interviews, people talking about the negotiations on platforms. How that could be negotiations in good faith? If
that's the problem. It would not be seen as being in good faith. And again, so the question has to be, well, they're breaching all the rules and the regulations and the law. And the question now has to be, is that to get the public on their side?
Definitely. It's a little bit of bully. I in control. That's what it is. A little bit of bully. And it's also games. It's games being played at the end of the day. If we look in terms of the amount of money that we have lost, and I heard my friend speaking about it, and been spent over the period at time, and I don't want to talk about 2015 to now, which my friend was talking about. Even we going backwards to 2013, are you saying with all that money that has been spent, that workers are not deserving of an increase?
That's how it feels. That's what it feels like.
That is what you say indirectly. So as some people say, you're spending money to rent buildings unnecessarily. You're spending money to
pay plenty lawyers,
to refurbish trains that you cannot use. You're spending money to pave roads that collapsing, and you cannot pay the ordinary man or woman a living wage. This is what this is, isn't it? You cannot pay them a living wage. Mm-hmm. And you are most upset when it is brought to the forefront of the attention of the population. This is unfortunate.
And we always talk about that disconnect between the politicians and the people, and offering that 2% in my mind was really, really illustrated that. Rich, I want you to come in and chat a little bit with also with Tim. I spoke to him a little bit on terms of, you know, the march tomorrow, the protest, and what he couldn't speak for anybody else, and I wouldn't expect him to, but he was saying that you have to start somewhere, and with the hope that it will probably, you know, grow into something. And you know, I wanted you to share what your thoughts were on that, in terms of the unity that, whether it's true or not, it looks as if they're not united at the moment.
Yeah. So thank you, Mickela. Mr. Bailey.
Yes, my brother.
Don't you? Yeah. How are you going? It looked good to me. A bit fired up.
He's a sharp boy.
Yeah. Don't you think it would have been more strategically prudent for all the trade union leaders to hold their hands until the CPO responded to all the leaders in the different fields, and then you all meet together and decide a course of action thereafter? For example, now you have teachers saying they cannot join the struggle because the CPO has not responded to them. Notwithstanding that, they would have loved to, but they can't because it's going to be premature. So right there, you all have canceled out hundreds, if not thousands of people from the march or whatever you all would want to do tomorrow, the boycotting, whatever form it would take. Strategically, it would have made more sense rather than show up with a few and convey to the government and the rest of the national community that the impact that could flow from the trade union movement is not as it used to be back in the day. Why take that risk?
Well, I want to start off by saying that June 19 is near. It is very, very near, right? And that might be the climax. That might be the climax. And while I understand your rationale in terms of strategy, the reality is that an intention has been signaled, right?
Yeah.
Some unions have already been given this offer. And while we respect our sisters and brothers who have said we haven't been given an offer, and based on maybe instruction of the General Council, General Membership, let's wait and see. It must start somewhere. I don't think that this is the monster match. This is not the monster match, but this is a segment or a section of the trade union movement. And then you will have other unions who would join in solidarity, who haven't even gotten proposals from the CPO, that is going to basically show the discontent tomorrow. What would happen over the passage of time is that, as I said, it will climax. I don't think that we need, as a government, we need for it to climax, because if it climax, we're in problems. So it's maybe better that it goes, it increases over time than is a total shutdown. That's maybe the best thing at this point in time. And God works in mysterious ways, and maybe it was destined to be this way.
Well,
I feel like giving us some hints there. Go ahead, Rich. Go ahead.
well, once you pour the Lord in there, and we know that He does work in mysterious
He
ways, who
does.
am I?
He does.
Who am I to challenge that? Come on. I had to go with what you have said yourself, if you know what I mean. Let's hope that it works out. Let's hope that you all are guided by the hand of God, and that it will turn out to be a success tomorrow. I'm just saying from a management perspective that there are some things you do through using, in other words, you're saying something quite meaningfully. It's good to use the teeth that you have instead of waiting until you get more and more strength and more power. So you use what you have, and then perhaps it could culminate on the 19th of June into something more meaningfully and so on. But equally, if tomorrow fails, it could impact June 19th negatively, because at the end of the day, it's going to be dependent on people participation. And one poor showing could result into another poor showing, whereas one strong showing could result into a much more, how I should say, a meaningful showing. Sometimes you
Right.
need to, yeah, sometimes you need to send, because these things deal with momentum.
Yeah.
If the small tomorrow is small, then they would say that it lacks momentum.
And it
And
might
the
be,
absence of the momentum that will go forward would be that less people will come out. But when you have a positive showing, the momentum could almost guarantee you in advance that whatever it was then, it could get bigger the next time. Because everyone will begin to feel it's working, and more people feel in the same way, and they'll come back out.
It could also be a strategy where you allow people to feel that you're playing checkers when you're really playing chess. And is a scenario where is a warning shot to start off with, but is not really a best shot. So let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. Let's see how it unfolds.
Are the members feeling motivated? Are the members feeling motivated? We just see this happening so many times, you know.
The members cannot feel motivated at this time. How could you be in a home and your parent mistreating you? You're feeling as if your parent mistreating you. You're not going to be motivated. The government is supposed to be the parent,
yeah,
supposed to be taking care of the citizens who are its
children. I guess when Mickela said motivated to come out
fight
and do the work, to fight,
yeah,
definitely. People have had enough. As I said, stretching back to 2013, we are in 2022, and people are living on those salaries, and you are seeing people getting pensions that is the equivalent of what they are getting when they are working when they retire. Nowhere in no pension plan, under no pension scheme, it is 100% of what you work for. You give yourself that. It's not even you give yourself that in an environment where since 2015 you balling, you give yourself that. And that is what I'm talking about, burden of adjustment. There isn't any burden of adjustment being shared here. I don't want to call a bank, but if you look at the banks, I was looking at a bank report for 2021, $1.2 billion in profit, moved from $900 million. So it didn't get worse at the banks, it get better. You saw a $400 million increase in your profit from 2020 to 2021. And it has happened across the board in these financial institutions. Who money spending there? Whose money spending there? Where is that money coming from? And that is the question we must ask. It is definitely not a scenario where the burden of adjustment being shared across the board. It's not.
And that's why the unions need to be strong and united. I mean, how can people live? And we have to be realistic here. How can people continue to live on that salary when every day something is going up? Richard and I were chatting. The food is going up. Gas prices are going up. You want to charge people property tax. I mean, there's only a matter of time before something has to give.
Mickela, Richard, I know people personally who working to borrow. When I say they working to borrow, when they get paid, it's to pay back what they borrow to get
And
to
by
the
the
end of the
18th
month.
of the month, the 20th of the month, if not sooner, they're going
It's
back to the
finished.
same people they just paid us
Exactly.
to borrow again. Yeah.
Exactly. And that is a harsh reality. It is.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I too know a lot of people like that. I've
Well,
actually
Tim, we've
lent
seen
people
people can't lend
like
people
that.
money, exactly.
Yeah,
Because, you
and
know,
I'm hoping that they don't pay me back. That is always my strategy of it. Because instead of we go through the circle, when I see them coming back and they say, oh boy,
yeah, because if
if
they
they
come back and they
take
pay
money
you back,
back,
we got to give you
they
again. I
mean they
mean,
come in and they usually come back for more the next time. They don't come back for the same thing, you know. So you know, but a lot of people going through that, and you can't get vexed with them. Even when they come back, it's only because they're genuinely hurting, and they are people, and you try your best to help them as much as you could. I may have my personal strategy and feeling, you know, how to maneuver, but the bigger picture for me is to always help once you can, because these
of
people,
course,
they're
I'm
coming.
100%.
Yeah, they're coming to you not because they want to. For most of them, it's a very tough decision, you know. They're not coming to
And
ask you
it's
because they like you.
embarrassing. And don't forget,
It is. Yeah.
embarrassing. You know, it's not who wants to be in this position? Who's happy to be in this position? Nobody in who will ever feel comfortable. I mean, for the first time, I have a very a close friend of mine that I work with, and he said his friends, people that he knew, men having to come and ask to borrow. It's painful. It's
It
painful for
is.
people.
It is. Yeah, very much so.
And that is because everything is going up. People can't afford to eat. And I always go back to this, and Timothy knows how I feel about this. You know, that is a basic necessity of life. People having to choose whether to eat or pay rent. Tim, we know this. We know this. We know this. When all of this trauma was happening and lockdown and all these different things was going on, there wasn't a part of the country, so it could be UNC, it could be PNM, there was a part of the country that wasn't affected, correct or wrong, Tim?
Correct.
We went from the south, the north, the east, the west, basic necessity of food. And I just can't understand in a small country like Trinidad, how on earth the government, the opposition, whoever, can be so out of touch. You know, surely that's how you must feel to me.
Definitely.
You know,
Definitely.
and you have to watch it every day. And you have to see the rich getting richer. You have to see the millions going in the rent and the millions going to this one, and you struggling to eat and pay rent.
When a minister or an official has to go back decades to talk about the suffrage that they endured, that is a signal that they're not in touch with the ground. That is a signal
when
that
a leader has to go back in decades to tell you what his party accomplishments were in the past, to tell you what we represent. It tells you that he has acknowledged that he's not doing one thing for the people today. Because you're supposed to, people didn't elect you to give them lecture about what happened 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. They elected you for you to be able to show to them what you did for them in 5 and 7 years. But every time you take the platform, you're going back about when PNM went alone, when PNM did it alone. What did this PNM did alone? Yeah. And as Mickela didn't have PNM, but the governance of this one is not good at all. It isn't, and I make no bones about that. And what has it done?
And the function is to improve people's lives. That's your function. Yeah. We talk about elections and all of that. When you get there, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What is your plan? What is your strategy? Albeit you may not know what you're going to face. You don't know. It's only when you go there. But what are you going to do? Surely your plan, your vision has to be, it is our duty to improve people's lives. And we're asking for the most basic thing. And you see money flowing through the country, And then you come and tell people, well, all we could do is 2%. And then otherwise, if we give you 8%, we won't be able to do it for the next 10 years. And that's something we were talking about to me. We said, who talking about the next 10 years? Maybe next year things get even better. We could give people more. But if they're not able to adjust. So he's already looked at not being able to do it for I don't know if he said how long, Rich.
I got the impression that he doesn't want to give the increase that the people deserve until he's of the view that they could sustain such an increase. And therefore, he doesn't believe also, from my interpretation of what was said, that while we have a little something in the kitty, we still have a long way to go before we could sustain that type of, well, what that is saying to me is you're talking next 10, 20 years. He may be out of office and has never given the people the increase. It doesn't work that way. You give increases, Mickela just said, you give increases when things have improved as they are now. And I'm making the point, had Richard Quest, David McIntyre, let me just pause. David McIntyre, Daddy Mac?
Daddy Mac, where are you? Daddy Mac ran away. He was very upset when we started the show. I've never heard him.
But the bottom line is, we were talking about this weeks before Richard Quest said what he said. We were discussing that it appears as though all the ministers, when they went on the retreat, they were told to go back to constituencies and use the same language, same message, same way, deliver it the same way. The government had no money. There's no money. We have no money. So that if everyone is saying the same thing, wherever anyone goes, if one person leave Barataria San Juan and go to St. Joseph, the same message you hear. You follow what I'm saying?
We have no money.
So
they have no money. No money. No money.
So
no money.
Unbelievable. What you don't want is Barataria saying, we have no money, but then the people in St. Joseph saying they ain't be taking good care of them. That'll be a problem. So like they went on a retreat and everyone got the message. Go and deliver a speech wherever they actually, when you go to your constituency meetings on a Tuesday, tell them the government don't have no money. And just stand by that and put on a sad, expression on your face. We really have no. You understand? To let the people
what we will
leave.
do, and we had to pay all these grants and COVID. We wasn't making any money, and we were in this.
Keep people in jobs. You know how much it costs to keep everybody working? Like that's something new. That's something we grew up knowing, the government paying people wages and the salaries. But today they come to tell you how much it costs, as though they had something to do with giving it to the people in the first place.
Because again, we have some of the wounds are self-inflicted.
Yeah.
When you could ignore totally the closure of $1 billion revenue stream, as what has happened. People are talking about Petrotrin. Petrotrin has part to play in this. This isn't about Petrotrin, Anna. This started in 2016. One of the largest contributors to foreign exchange was Mittal. We would have, as a country, gained $500 million in utilities from Mittal. Mittal was the largest user of electricity in this country, the fourth largest user of natural gas, a top 10 user of water. $500 million in revenue went up in smoke when Mittal was closed. If Mr. Mittal wanted to leave, fine. Why didn't, our country, our government, and I say open it, do its endeavor best to ensure that the steel industry was returned? Because the reality is, the price of steel is the highest in the last 20 years currently.
Yes.
Yeah.
Imagine we had a steel industry running right now. You know the kind of money we could have been making? It would have been an opportunity for us to diversify away from oil and gas. And you would have had a revenue stream to dip into to pay public sector workers.
At least for Forex.
But you did nothing. You turn the other way. While people abused your children, you look the other way. And it began there. It has never stopped. It has just is a trickle-on effect.
And that is because the management in the quality of this governance was not good, and it remains that way. Because if it was good governance produced through good management, Mittal or metal, how I should say, the like of metal, something like metal would have been here in place of metal to make
Correct.
sure that industry would have kept on going forward. So if metal had a
Where's the
desire
vision?
to
Where's
pull
the
out,
foresight?
none.
That's the
So they go
point.
on,
Where's the vision and the
you tighten the
foresight?
jacket on you and you say, to hell with them. We will survive. We will get past this. But you're saying that and you had no replacement in mind. And from then to now, you have come up with nothing to fill the gap that metal used to take care of. So there's one pillar gone.
Yeah.
Petrotrain was another one. The refinery today doing all kind of things to try to get a refinery back up that you shut down 3-4 years ago. Now, does that make sense? That's to tell you
What was
how
the
you have
plan?
magnified the poor quality decision making taking place that is causing the poor governance the people of this country experiencing and suffering at the hands of. Because how you could come and close down something such as a refinery that could have had diesel, premium, super, all the way back down. You shut it down and say go import fuel.
But every
And
Burn up your
action
forex.
has a
Burn up
reaction.
your forex. Instead of making
burn up
forex,
your
you're burning
forex
it up.
Yeah, you
on
burn
a
it up.
daily basis that you can get your citizens to invest, to travel, to live a better quality life. You take it to pay for fuel that we used to have and produce here
Yeah.
for ourselves. You take that and give it away, right? And now, 3-4 years later, you're saying, wait now, boy, look at what's happening in Suriname and Guyana. We could, if we
Yeah.
had the thing running, we could, and you're all in Guyana now trying to get them to send oil here and Suriname to send oil
Far
here.
away to refine and all over the
For us
place,
to
and we
refine.
with the
Richard,
neighbor.
Richard
the
and
refinery.
Mickela. Richard and Mickela, the sad thing about it, right? I am aware that there are options to even restart the steel industry. I am aware Athena Steel has financing to restart the steel industry. Where is the hand being extended to say, let's do this? Same thing with the refinery. If you talk to OWTU, they will tell you they don't know how we got to this point. They will tell you that. But we are at this point. And
It's like a
who bought
dream.
the
It's like a
refinery? Do
dream.
you have any idea, Mr. Bailey, who got the refinery? Because we are hearing they have a, well, it sounds almost like a done deal. I haven't said it's a done deal, but
Yeah.
I saw an article last night
I saw it as well.
Yeah.
with
Yes.
some
yes.
US entity. A US entity is the preferred bidder for the refinery.
Quanten.
That's it.
Quanten is the preferred bidder for Petrotrain refinery. But every action has a reaction, and we don't simply just go crazy. If the government felt it could have justified it, what was your plan? You don't just close things down.
yeah, you don't just
What's
do
your
that.
plan? You're replacing with something, the same thing, a different person, a different company, or what is the plan? You don't just leave a void there and think that let's hope for a war to happen, or let's hope for.
They were hoping for a war from since 2015 because we have no plan at all that has started to commence the diversification of the
We are
economy.
saying that there is no
Oil
plan, but
boom.
there maybe is a plan. If you look very closely at some
But
of
not to
these entities,
diversify. Not to diversify.
I want to make a point. If you look very close at some of these entities would have fallen under corporate soul, right? And would have been managed a certain way. What they have been doing is creating special entities where you don't have to go through certain channels as you used to have to before, where you don't have to make things public. They are opening private entities and running things, assets that are supposed to be public assets. Up to recently, then they open a private company to do work that local government used to do, to pave roads, private roads and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's an entity, a company.
Special purpose companies, they used to call them
Yeah.
special purpose companies, and they don't tend to be subject to whether it's bidding or auditing in the same way. And to me, I just find it's important that you keep it going, Timothy, that this started, and the effect and the trickle-on effect from steel workers, because we forget. And we talk about Petrotrin and, and Carney and these kinds of things. What are you replacing it with? Right? You still have Carney workers in the same position where they haven't gotten their land. They haven't, what will it take? What will it take to sit down, have a vision, have a plan, and make things work? That's what people are voting for. Surely you must have something. Yeah, go ahead, my dear.
We definitely need to diversify the economy.
Yes.
We definitely. It would be remiss of me not to say that we need to reopen the steel industry.
I was going to ask you, in the context of steel, do you think reviving the industry will help some of the economic challenges that we here we're facing, which we know we are in many countries in the world? Do you think that will assist and talk to us a little about it?
Definitely. We are positioned and we are strategically and geographically in a place that is unmatched. We could ship to anywhere in the world. As I said, in the last 20 years, the price of steel is at its highest, right? We need to grasp that opportunity. We need to, and I looked at, and fortunate for me, because we had tried to work with Atanas in the past, they came back to me recently and said, this is what we want to do. We are no longer only trying to rely on natural gas. We're using other technology to run the steel industry. And this would ensure that the business is a sustainable business. And that's the kind of thinking we have to get. We have to get the type of thinking that is not to go back to what we had before, it's to make it better.
Yes.
And we definitely need the steel industry to in Trinidad and Tobago. It would help even contractors, even our building locally. You are paying exorbitant amounts of steel.
Yeah.
Unnecessarily. And you have a whole industry, a whole plant rotting down in Point Lisas. And the owner of the plant is an individual that did not pay any of your citizens any separation benefit and is allowed to play a game, a liquidation game. What is really going on? What is really going on?
We keep on hearing about the economic recovery plan. I honestly, it's a number of pages. I went online and I was checking for it during lockdown. I think they sort of produced something, but you're not hearing anything about diversification. You're not hearing, and it is so important at this time. Many countries are moving away from fossil fuels. Electric cars. Countries are saying by the year 2030 or 20, they're not going to be relying on petrol and these kinds of things. So for me, and we talk about this so many times, where is the vision for the country? And if you must have a plan. Every day we just have to care about who thief and who corruption and this and that and which one tit for tat, mudsling, this kind of thing. What is the plan? You don't hear it from either of them. And we've been saying this for a long time, Tim. I lost him?
No, I'm not sure.
I think it froze. Yeah.
I think he's back now.
He's back.
Yeah,
when you consider, as Mr. Bailey was saying, the price of steel in this country today, you had to look at, if we were still producing steel here, how should I say, robustly effective that could have been in assisting the economy to move forward. Especially one section of the economy, which would be the construction sector. Because in that sector, you'll find more people at this time where labor might be a little down, still affordable. People would have been building more. And you would have found
so you get more jobs.
More jobs, yeah. More people that try to take advantage of this opportunity to build another home, expand their home and that type of thing. But nobody can do that now. In fact, more people looking to sell what they have right now. You look around, look at the papers at how many houses for sale and
I saw that. Yeah,
people on the run, and the reason why people on the run now is simply because You don't have to tell them how bad the governance is in the country. The fact that they're running, they're signaling to you that they understand it, and that's why they're leaving. I mean, that's why people don't run away from what is good. People don't sell out at a time when they believe things to be good. People tend to take a loss when they believe it's going to get worse. And that's what they're doing. They are seeing the trajectory and where it's heading, and they have concluded that before it gets worse, let me try to see what we can get fit now before we had to take significantly less tomorrow, next week. You understand? So they're cutting their losses and running. And that tells you, and perhaps that could be a policy so that those who have money and in power now could buy up a lot of stuff. You understand what I'm saying? So that they are getting, they take, it's opportunities for them and their friends, right? Because they know eventually somewhere along the line, things may normalize through the cyclical way, whether at their hands or somebody else's hand. But by then, they own all these assets. You follow what I'm saying? So it could be a frustrating policy to get people to react the way they're reacting now. And if that is the case, that is a most uncaring approach. And even if that is not the policy, it comes across as such because it's heartless, it's wicked, and I mean, it has contributed significantly to keeping the economy appearing to be debilitated. We are less than stagnant. We are no longer in a recession. We're still in depression based on the amount of months of no growth, the quarters and so on there. So it's a terrible situation.
But if they don't know, Rich, if they don't know what to do, I always try to, let's look at the two different things. They don't know what to do. For years, spoken with Timothy, and the vision for the industry is just amazing. It is, and I don't want to sell out anything, obviously. But the vision that he has shared with me, I mean, it's amazing. It's thinking outside the box in ways that I couldn't believe it. Why won't they at least listen then? Sit down and talk. People have ideas. You don't expect the government to know anything. These men, these boys know what they're doing. They're the technocrats. They are the expert in their fields. They have ideas. Diversification, not just simply what they could do with steel, how steel, and I'm not going to say any, too much, but how steel could help other industries. And you know what I'm talking about, that, Tim. How steel could help other industries. And I mean, I just can't understand. Well, if you don't know, you've been in it for too long, and listen to somebody else. Do you feel that you're being listened to?
No. We're not being listened to. If we be listened to, it might be one or two in the set, and one or two in the set can't make a decision for the set. Right? The unfortunate thing is, as you rightfully said, if at the end of the day, just like how, and if you talk to my members, you get that sense. Some of them are saying, if the government did show something I intend to even fight for us, and down the road, Metal was allowed due to some legal maneuver to get away. We could have said at least a fight for us. But they never do anything. They turn away. And likewise, we are saying at the end of the day, you have nothing right now. What you have to lose? You have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And all to gain. And you're not even giving it a try.
Yeah.
You're not even giving it a try.
Agreed. I hope that the government will listen. I hope that they will stop this nonsense about fighting the fight out in the public and come in good faith and talk and listen, and that the workers at the end of the day will benefit. I always say, if you tell people the truth, and Trinbagonians, they will understand. When you told us you need to tighten our belts, we understood that. We now know you have a bit of a windfall. Share it. Not just for the few, but for the many. I want to thank you so much, Tim, Mr. Bailey. Thank you so much for being with us. I don't know if you want to add anything else Rich?
Thank you for
Yes,
having me,
yes.
yourself
Hold
and
on.
Richard.
1 second. She asked me if I want to add
He wants
anything.
to ask you something. Don't run away from us just yet.
Yeah, I just want to say to you as a leader, what the government been doing to outfox other trade union leaders all the time is that when you all finally meet, and if they do it from the platform too, they change the issue. Don't allow the issue to be lost in any old talk. The old
That's
talk that
right.
it is, we don't have the money as they had, you know. We are still trying to fix. And then when they start that and you listen, then they realize, nice, I have their attention. And they're going back into 2010, or they're going back into 1996 to 2000. You understand what I'm saying? To tell you where a problem
No,
began. No, hold on, and they're telling
definitely,
you.
definitely.
Yeah, so what I'd want to do, I'm telling you, when they try that, say, hold on, hold your horses. We are dealing with the windfall, gas prices going up, oil prices going up, and I think there's some other product we're selling that is attracting $1,400 a ton now. If Daddy Mac will tell
Methanol.
you,
Methanol.
Methanol.
And ammonia. And ammonia.
And what's the name, right, Daddy Mac?
Ammonia.
Ammonia.
Ammonia, yeah, $1,400 a ton or something like that now. So I think we have never been making money before as we are making now. And don't allow these gentlemen to make you to change the issue. You're going to discuss how we could get a percentage of this money to our members. I don't care what happened 10 years ago. You weren't in office 10 years ago. Let's deal with you who here now. You told us in 2015 to tighten our belt, we did it with you. But from 2017 to now, things turned around dramatically. Oil prices went back up on its own, and then it was followed by a war. The war has propelled the price from $73 to $130. Between 2010 and 2015, oil prices was never at $130, never. So they have it better than any other. And they are 2 budgets away from reaching $2 trillion. Now hear me, so $500 billion, sorry. 2 budgets away from reaching $500 billion. You know what I'm saying? This government has spent more money than any other government in this country. Huh? What he said?
I hear you loud and
clear. He heard you loud and clear. He heard you loud and clear.
Okay, all right. So that when you all go to the table, they have a clever way. They have ways
divide
that
and
they
rule.
use new conjunctions and to change the topic. You talk and say, all you don't know happening, you know, that's a conjunction. But they say, all you don't know happening, you know, is what follows. They change the issue right there, you know. Say, let me tell you something. You see, that is another conjunction. They change the issue there, you know. So they say, all you don't know, or let me tell you something. They say, no, we don't want to hear that, you know. We just want to
talk about this.
Let's keep it right here. Or if you listen to when it's done, say, okay, could we come back to this? That was a nice piece of history. Could we come back to this? This is all we come to talk about, you know. Is that too much to ask? Well, let me just discuss this now. The windfall, the money from 2017 to now, the war, we want some of that money. You understand that what we're talking about? When things turn tough again, we'll come back here, you'll tell us how to adjust, and we go adjust. Yeah. But for now, we want the money. Pay us 15%. The government could afford that right now. Pay to the people. I speak for the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and I speak for them because I have confidence. Pay the
people the money.
Yes, exactly so. And I too have confidence in the people of Trinidad and Tobago that they will do the right thing to demand their money because it is available to them now. When things get hard again, they can tighten their belt once again at that time. But no, it's not a time to be tightening belt. No, it's a time to be slackening and being able to take your family out for lunch or for dinner and buy more in the grocery and add on a little room to your house and prepare yourself for whatever the future has to offer. But you can't go into the future with the pockets you have now because some of you will be running into a dark hole. And the cost that you may have to incur then, it might be unimaginable. And you certainly will not be in a position to match that. Take what you can get now. Save and invest so that you'll be better positioned to fight in the future. If you refuse that, go on.
Go ahead, Tim.
I want to quote what our Minister of Finance said recently. He said the economy has grown by $5 billion in
Yeah.
the last quarter. That is worse than mine.
That's all them did. They've come back now and
It's
tell
turning around. It's turning around.
Yeah.
But say they
but
have
then
no money.
they all talk. And then always listen. They have a way to make all fall asleep, you know. And then all feel like, I don't know, you laugh and you walk out. Keep in mind.
I don't think any trade union right now, any trade union leader right now falling asleep. The trade union movement is wide awakened. And I think if ever, now is the opportunity for the movement, as you said, to unify on this particular subject.
Yeah.
You need to unify because if not now, when?
Yeah. Let them know the gig of the old talk is over. You see that gig with the historical talk and all that? That's over. The gig is over. You want money now. You don't want to hear anything else. And if they can't give the money now, run outside and tell your members they're refusing to give all the little money all they ask for. And this is the action we're going to take. And let them walk up and down this town every day in the hot sun. When election comes, they would feel the hurt then. But I have to tell you, this is the most selfish group of persons I've ever seen. Not all of them, you know. But I'm repeating that in case anybody who was listening now was closing their fridge door and they didn't hear what I was saying. Let me repeat myself. This is the most selfish group of persons I've ever seen govern this country. It's not the whole government, you know. It's only about 7 of them, you know. It's only about 7 of them. And I want to tell you, the 7 of them, they're super wealthy now, you know. They are super wealthy. They are real rich people in the government now and some very poor ones. Come on. So the trade union leaders, I'm saying to you all, you have a job and a duty of care to your members. Fight for them. Fight for them. They don't expect of you to go and absorb old talk into your system and let that condition you to go back and tell them, we try, we really can't. No. Stand up. You want your money too. I see people sending around something now the Prime Minister say, I want my money. And I don't like my money. You all see that?
No, I didn't see that.
They don't sleep out. I want it now.
Yes, I agree with him. If he wanted his money then, and he don't like his money sleeping out, then why should your money sleep out? And why should that gentleman who doesn't want his money to sleep out encourage and invite your money to sleep out? He should be the last man to want anybody's money to sleep out because he know how affected he is when his money sleeping out. Tell him all they want all the money and stand by it. If he can't give you the money,
you better invite him for your meeting.
Make our money sleep out. Let him know this conversation must end. You're asking me for my money to sleep out. We want it now. You can't be telling us that and walk out. Walk out and tell the members he's asking you all to allow your money to sleep out. You understand? And then play the little clip. Play the little clip. He want all his money now and he don't want to sleep out. But he's telling all you, let all your money sleep out. What kind of thing is that? That is major double standards. But I know I took it a little longer. Nick's was wrapping up.
I just wanted to say thank you so much, and hopefully you will come again and educate the people and update us on what's happening. I know that, and I want to say again, it's nice to see young, vibrant, fighting trade union leaders. And you I know for a fact your commitment to your people, to your members. I know that, and keep up the good work. You have my support as you always have. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, and I look forward to reconvening with better news in the near future.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
And if the news is good, we'll come and say they did a good thing.
You did a great thing.
No problem. We tell the government after 7 years and with the windfall, they have taken a good decision. But as it is now, we cannot support any policy or position to suffer the working class in this country any longer.
Anymore.
We are against it. It's wicked and it's heartless. That's highly uncaring. We're not going to tolerate that.
Good. Thank you very much, Tim.
Thank you. Bye.
Best wishes to you, my friend.
Yes.
I think you're gonna join. I'm gonna ask him if he will invite you to a meeting, Rich.
One of their meetings,
when I was listening to you just now, right? I was ready to go on march.
No.